All right, we had such a good time, even though the teams that are subject matters aren't having such a good time. Last week in a new segment within your segment called Levels of Concern with Chris Long.
Yeah.
Can we even have like a graphic?
All right, come on. Nothing to see here. Please, it's first.
There you go. Little
It's
Frank Drebin.
Chris Long's level of concern.
All right, a round of applause here. What do you think of the graphic? Smitch did a great job.
That graphic is just...
It's fantastic, right?
It's great.
Okay,
it's
good.
great.
It's called
That's
production
good.
value, Christopher. All right, so let's get the first one up. The San Francisco 49ers, your level of concern for San Francisco is what?
It's relatively high. I mean, I'm not freaking out, but, and you know, like we talked about this with Brock Purdy a month ago, people wanted to burn me at the stake because I was like pushing back on him being a top 10 quarterback. Like things take a while to shake out at quarterback in this league, and like the context around quarterbacks matters and that sort of thing. I think they miss Trent big time. You know, like a lot of what they do starts with, you know, getting on edges in the run game, hard zone. He's dominant. And so many times you just think about the protection with a guy like that. And sometimes you don't think about a tackle being down as much, but he is truly a game changer for them. Missing him, having to go without Debo, and then the late game mistakes by him. But honestly, like this is a team that I look at and I say they're used to playing complementary football on both sides of the ball, where the other side's also playing great, and neither side is playing great right now. And on defense, somebody else besides Nick Bosa has to win rushes. I know the guy's getting paid $1 billion, and you look at the sack totals and that sort of thing. Guy had 9 pressures in the first half yesterday. Somebody else has to win, and I think the fractions of time are a little bit off in coverage. I don't know if it's like the minutia of what Wilkes is doing that Ryans wasn't doing or vice versa, but the time fractions are off for that pass rush group, and you can see it.
Let's move to the Chiefs. Your level of concern for the Kansas City Chiefs is what, Chris?
Not very. I mean, you got not very. I'm not very concerned about them. They have flaws, like, but if you look at the Niners, we just talked about the Niners. I mentioned 5 things, like on both sides of the ball. Okay, like the defense will be fine when they get Nick Bolton back. I thought they got, I don't want to say bullied up front yesterday a little bit, but like that was that group. Like that group was built to win that game yesterday. I mean, they pounded the rock. Sean Payton was giddy. He sounded like Bill Parcells in the press conference afterwards. Like that was that kind of game. And like I said, the Chiefs left a lot of points on the board. I trust that quarterback. I trust that coach. I'm not worried about him.
What about getting a weapon in the next 24 hours, Brett Veach? What about, I know they already got Hardman from the Jets, but
I dare you, Veach. I don't think he's going to do it. I just don't think he's going to do it. But like, you know, you look back, and I don't like doing this with draft picks because it's unfair to Sky Moore or whatever, but George Pickens comes off the board, I think, right after. And sometimes I don't think Matt Canada knows he has George Pickens, but, you know, like things like that. They've missed in a couple spots when they could have drafted good wide receivers. Now you're talking about the difference between another ring and not having another ring. And I think it might come down to, in that passing game, you can survive being dink and dunk, but there will be games like this. And in the playoffs, one of those can sink you. So I like adding another piece, but I'm just playing with Monopoly money here.
Chris Long here. Level of concern with Chris Long right now from the Green Light with Chris Long podcast host. You just took a slight swipe at Matt Canada, the offensive coordinator of the Steelers.
He wasn't bad yesterday.
Well, I mean, the Steelers' offense didn't look good again, or they looked like they were struggling to get first downs again. Kenny Pickett gets knocked out with a rib injury that, by the way, I should say, moments ago, as we were starting our segment, Mike Tomlin, meeting with the media, spoke about Kenny Pickett's availability. It's a short game Thursday night with the Titans coming in. And as you know, Jeffrey Simmons and that defense there are no wallflowers. This is what Mike Tomlin had to say.
I think the door is definitively ajar for Kenny. Probably a game time type decision based on the information that I'm holding here today, with no structural damage and so forth to his ribs. And so we see how we'll go through the week, his ability to throw, his level of comfort, his ability of effectiveness, et cetera, and let that be our guide in terms of determining his availability.
What do you think for me about a level of concern here, Chris?
First off, I love like Mike Tomlin. I could listen to his press conferences all day. I just love him.
Yeah, me
but
too.
also, I am concerned about the Steelers, but, I never thought they had like this tremendously high ceiling. Like they're going to have to scrap things out. They've had some good luck in different spots, but if Pickett's healthy, I like the spot for them Thursday night. I mean, like everybody's going to be buying the Titans high off Will Levis. It's awesome performance and everything. If you watch that game yesterday, like it's easy to say, hey, Matt Canada, Matt Canada, Matt Canada. And I've done it this year, but just execute, like he schemed up Deontay Johnson open in plus territory. The first damn play of the game, catch the ball, third down, don't slip in the end zone. Pickett, put it on Deontay. Deontay, get in the right cleats. Like there are points off the board that they're leaving out there. And, I could get nitpicky and say, I want to see more Pickens. I want to see more Warren, stuff like that. But I thought yesterday the offensive play calling wasn't the problem, on some level that we're used to Matt Canada and complaining about Matt Canada. It's just too easy to do it when they didn't execute. I thought yesterday was execution. And the defense gave them so many opportunities. They had some nice drives. They strung together some long drives, but Pickett hurt and a lot of drops, a lot of mistakes.
So what's your concern? What would we say your level of concern for the Steelers is?
Well, they're not like, I don't think about them like a team that's going to win the Super Bowl. So it's hard for me to get concerned about a team that's not going to win like, no disrespect. They could go on a run and everything. But if we're being honest, like, you didn't expect the Steelers to be here right now. So concerned? Yeah, I'm a little concerned, but only if Pickett's hurt for a while.
Let's talk about the Browns then. Again, P.J. Walker starting again. He had about 2.5, 3 really good quarters, and then the Seahawks defense started doing its thing. Seattle moves on. The Browns are now 4-3. They were in the 7th spot through 8 weeks in the AFC. What's your level of concern for Cleveland, Chris?
Curious. It's a curiosity. I'm not concerned. Again, like it's the wrong C word. Concerned. Well, I would have to think they're going somewhere. And it's not to say that I don't think the defense is scary and all that stuff. Although I'd like to know who they are, because like week to week, half to half, it changes. And sometimes they'll bleed a lot of yards and points. If you want to be talked about like one of those defenses, right? And we get out over our skis a little bit early in the season. We were throwing the Ravens around from like 2000. That's the kind of statistical pace they're on. But then Minshew puts up 38 points. Seattle gets a cushion at home. Like if you want to be held to that standard, we got to hold you to that standard. And I'd like to see the defense be a little bit more consistent. I don't think Deshaun's walking back through that door and looking like Houston Deshaun. To me, that's just kind of things have changed now. So they're going to have to win championships on defense, and I'd like to see them be more consistent.
All right, then the last one for you, the Washington Commanders, who got Sam Howell doing some terrific things against an Eagles defense that he just had his way against. I mean, they got the most sacked quarterback in the league, didn't get touched until Hassan Reddick sacked him finally at the end. And then what do you think about the Commanders' chance to make a playoff run here? With your level of concern at the midway point for them? So
actually, I like the Commanders. I mean, obviously, it's a division rivalry with the Eagles, and over the last 3 games, they've gotten the better of them. Offensively, whether it was Heineke beating them in prime time or Howell lately. But here's what's interesting, and I think Bieniemy's doing a great job. Also, who was the guy there in Kansas City? The other guy that tore him up through the air, the other team that tore him up through the air in the Super Bowl. The only couple teams to do that really since last year have been Bieniemy teams.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.